We're back.
How are you?
It's us. I'm good. How are you? It's been a wonderful day. I took a half day, got my hair did. So,
Ooh, fancy.
I know. I'm like, can't remember the last time I just like took a half day and used it to pamper myself, but
I took a half day yesterday, as did my husband. We
yeah.
drove down to Chicago and bought a used vehicle new to us.
It's
But
really
it still felt like a half a day vacation. It was
Mhm.
nice.
It's
It was nice to get away, to see something different.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I think I've, at least maybe you've too, but like I've underestimated what it is to take an extra 4 days, or sorry, 4 hours of like not worrying about work. And work will be there tomorrow, but it's
Work
so
will
nice.
be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I wondered too, I'm kind of tired. And I thought, am I tired because I'm amping up my workout program? Am I tired
Mhm.
because I'm not getting enough nutrition? My sleep is my sleep is pretty good. I almost always get at least 8 hours of sleep. So that's good. But
Mhm.
then I realized my vacation bank is pretty large. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, no wonder it's because I'm not taking any vacation. So I told boss Kelly that I would be taking most likely a day in February, just a day, and a day in March. And then Crime Con is
Oh,
virtual this year, or you have the opportunity. So I'm going to
Mhm.
take a couple of days so that I can watch Crime Con from my couch and enjoy. So
Yes.
that's why I am tired. I just thought, why do I feel so tired? And we have the holidays and we have a day off here and there, but I thought I don't have a
Mhm.
no wonder it's because I haven't been taking vacation.
You're only going to take a day or two off soon? Gotta take some more. I
Yeah,
guess.
because October I've got 80 hours coming.
Oh, nice.
So I have to save up for the 80 out for the 2 weeks of vacation.
Yeah, I just checked my PTO bank and I have so many like you. I'm like, oh God, I need to take some. Like, and we're pretty good about rolling over and stuff a certain amount of hours, but I'm like, but part of what I've been doing too is not researching, but trying to figure out where I want to go this year. Like, I know I want to go see you in Vermont, and then I know I'm pretty sure. I mean, I always take a trip down to see my parents. Well, my parents now live in Orlando, but I always take a trip down to Disney. So I know that's in the bank, but I'm like, I got to find some other.
Hiking? How
Yeah.
about hiking
I go,
vacations?
I go hiking. Like I don't, when I go hiking, I normally do it on the weekends, but yeah, I need to find some places to go that are more than just like a weekend trip, maybe like a week. Cause I went to Sedona last year and that was so much fun, but I just got to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
There's so many options. And so maybe I need to research some hikes. Me and Leah really want to go to Yosemite. So
Oh yeah, that would be neat.
yeah, so that's in the hopper. So maybe that'll be where I go this year. But I've heard that Southwest flights right now are so cheap. Like a bunch
Oh
of my friends
really?
round trip flights for $100.
Wow, that is pretty cheap.
Yeah, but
Very cool.
we'll see.
Jobs. Speaking of
Jobs.
jobs,
Yeah.
I have been hearing about jobs over and over and over again for the past few months. It seems like most everybody that I know is either looking for a job, has
Mhm.
applied for a job, has received a job, or is continually having headhunters call them.
I see this to some extent at my work because that's all that people can talk about right now is recruiting. But I think you probably see it a little bit more so than I do because you are in interviews oftentimes, aren't you?
Yes,
Yeah,
yep,
you're part
interviewing,
of the
yep.
interview process, and I'm not quite part of that. But it's crazy. I think the recruitment word right now is everywhere. Like,
I do too. There are so many open positions in our region, probably your region.
mhm,
It's crazy, and the wages are so high.
so
It
high right now.
You and I talked about it a few weeks ago. Well, maybe it was a month ago now, but we were saying we don't think it's sustainable.
No, it's wild to me. I think speaking of headhunters, I've had a few reach out to me. Like, it's crazy what they're offering. I'm just like, it's really cool to be, but a lot of it, it's like it seems too good to be true sometimes, which is not bad. It's just but I love where I work, so um,
Yeah, well,
It's
it could be too good to be true, but then how long is it going to last? So you and I were also talking about, okay, so you can get an offer for, I don't know, let's say $20,000 more than what you're making, or 24,000 more than what you're making. But are they going to keep you around for 2, 3, 5, 10 years? Or is this just a temporary hold to get people in the door and then reduce wages or let people go just through natural attrition? So when people leave, they just don't rehire. It's almost, you and I were talking about, it's almost like the tech bubble or the .com bubble. When is the job bubble, housing bubble? When is the job bubble going to burst? Because all these salaries are crazy. I do not know how it's sustainable.
Yeah, and I don't know too much about like other people, salaries and stuff. I haven't, I don't know. I just hear through like the grapevine that like all my friends are like, "Oh my gosh, I hear about this." And I'm like, "Oh, that makes no sense to me." But like some of these jobs, I'm just confused at where the numbers are pulled from. but I mean, like you said, recruitment is kind of crazy. Like the amount there's lots of job postings right now, and it's interesting to me that like right now, and kind of how we got on this topic is mentioning like if you want a job, you can probably get it for a pretty good salary. Like it's open in there, and like
It
switching
is.
jobs, and if that's something that's on your radar at all, like seems like a good time to do it maybe.
Well, Ashley just started a newer position with her organization, and you
Mm-hmm.
fell into that pretty organically, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got kind of asked if I was interested, and it was something I was interested in. So it was like kind of a perfect fit, and I applied and got it, which is awesome. So I'll be working in communications now, which is really exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. So it was one of those things that I knew I wanted to do long term. Like it's always been interesting to me, and I could definitely see my career going that way. So when I was kind of asked, where did I see myself, in the company, it kind of became natural. So I'm excited about it. But yeah, I think there's so much, I mean, that can happen to anyone.
It can. The other reason why we are talking about it is because on Sunday I was with my cousins playing bingo, and I love bingo.
Mm-hmm.
And two of my cousins are looking for new jobs. And I just looked at them baffled and said, "What do you mean you're looking for jobs? There are crazy jobs out there.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you make it sound like you're having an issue finding a job?" Well, one of them didn't know how to do a cover letter. And so I thought, okay. So I helped him out. I said, "I will help you with the cover letter." I said, "I don't even know that our company's still asking for cover letters. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't really read cover letters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. It used to be a really big thing back in the 80s and 90s. You had to have a cover letter with your resume. Now it's just, let's look at your resume and we'll interview you if you meet, the
Mm-hmm.
minimum qualifications. And then my other cousin, he made the comment that he didn't want to start less than, such and such a dollar range. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. Like, there are
Yeah.
so many jobs out there. And then it got to, well, people just don't want to apply. Do you know how to do a resume? So I asked both of my cousins, do you guys know how to do resumes? Yeah, they were both okay with resumes. And then I thought, is the hesitation to apply? And co-pilot Dawn had told me about a position that was out in our organization. I didn't even know about it. I don't visit the job boards too often, but she told me about it. I went out and looked at it. And so I did. And I thought, this is what Ashley and I are hearing, is
Mm-hmm.
that, people are nervous to apply, or there's hesitancy, or what could happen. And I always go with the worst case scenario. So what if you don't get called? What if you don't get an interview? It's okay. What if you get an interview and you blow it? Well, then that's lessons learned. Then you can continue to work on your interviewing skills if you're
Mm-hmm.
interested in going to a different position. And then
Mm-hmm.
you get to, okay, so then you're offered the position. Still doesn't mean you need to take it.
Right.
So if you're super anxious about it, then that's okay. And then what if you get the job? So Ashley got the job. And then that was a waiting period to bring somebody in to fill the position and to work with you while you were still in that area, although you're still with the same company.
Mhm.
And then go to your new position. And then it's like the learning curve starts all over again.
Mhm. You just talked about like if you don't get a call back from an interview, or if you do get a call back or whatever. I will say, really quick aside, one of the most valuable things that ever, when I first got out of college and I had interviewed for like, I don't know, retail jobs back in the day, in college. But one of the most valuable things that a company ever did for me was when I worked back at a bank. This was like 7 or 8 years ago at this point. But they called me in for an interview, and my interview I thought went well, but they called me back and they're like, well, we don't think you'd be good for this position. We think you'd be good for this other position, but we need you to interview for this other position. And here are the things that we want you to work on. And, but it was like great feedback. It was one of those things where it's like, here's the things that we noticed. We think you would be great at this position. Just make sure I think one of the things is I had like, they thought maybe my shirt, like I think I wore something that had too short of sleeves or something. And they're like, if you wanted to maybe wear a blazer, we think that would be a little bit more professional. And I was like,
Ashley, if you wanted to cover up those shoulders, we might hire you.
But it was one of those things where it was probably not as professional as it could have been. But I ended up getting the next job that they applied for, but they also showed me, told me like not how to respond to things, but like, here are some tips on like how you could interview better. And I was like, that was so helpful, like handshake tips. It was really wonderful. And I was like, they didn't have to do any of that. Like they could have just been like, just let me back into the streets or whatever. But like they spent time actually giving me some feedback. So, but again, like you said, you learn from like interview experiences. And I learned from that one. It was my first like real interview with a major company.
And sometimes people will interview really well. This is what co-pilot Dawn and I have found over the years too. And what I had found prior to even interviewing with Dawn. But there are times where people will interview really, really well. But then you think, will they be a good fit for the team? Will they be a good fit for the organization? Are they going to be a good fit for the organization? Are they going to be a good fit for the team? And when it comes down to it, sometimes you don't always pick the person that looks the best on paper. Sometimes when you start asking some behavioral questions and getting to know the person a little bit, although granted, in 45 minutes to an hour interview, you will not learn a lot about the person or their personality. But in general, if the skills are there and they would be a good fit for the team and the organization, that's a win. We have had people who have been incredibly skilled, but there are things about the way that they answered questions or some of their thoughts and theories just doesn't work for the team. And if we were to bring them in, of course, we can't tell what would have truly happened, but we just feel at times it's not right. So just because you don't get the position doesn't mean that you didn't do well in the interview, and it doesn't mean that you don't have skills that you could offer the organization in maybe a different area. But sometimes not hiring the person because of team dynamics is really the best for that person in the long run.
I think that that's a huge thing. Like right now, with the amount of jobs that are out there, from what I can tell, I mean, you hear about it all. There's so many open recs. All my friends tell me, they're like, oh, our company's hiring, like everyone's hiring. I think it really is important. Like you mentioned, like to make sure that you fit in with the team. I know like it's really important. Not only should they be interviewing you, but in my opinion, I think you should also be interviewing the company that you want to work with. I mean, I know when I went to my interview, I brought so many questions because I wanted to not only make sure that they thought I was a good fit for the organization, but also that I wanted to work with them. They had to have core values that aligned with mine. They had to have an outlook on, work-life balance that aligned with mine. They had to have, goals and, long-term things that they're wanting to reach and that aligned with what I think would be wonderful for the company. And you want to make sure that you want to be a part of it, because if most people, I think, when they start and they get on with a job, they want to make sure that, they want to be there for a long time. No one wants to get into a job. I mean, some people I do, I guess, if you like mixing things up. But I think for the most part, when you start a job, you don't have the idea that you're going to quit in 2 years.
Right.
So you want to make sure it's something, if you're going to be there every day for 8 hours a day on average, that you're going to like what you're doing, and that the people that you work with and the company that you work with, I think that makes life so much more enjoyable.
I think so too. There's been a couple of times where I've actually flown out to a different state, had an interview, looked at houses with a real estate agent, and then withdrew my application because the job wasn't the right fit. The organization wasn't the right fit. That's happened twice to me. And I just think, I'm interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing me. It has to be a good fit.
It has to be. And then in the long run, though, that is like a mutual thing, a mutual benefit to both of you, because you're happier. So you're producing better work. You feel fulfilled. Because I think right now, I mean, I would have loved to we kind of came up with this topic very quickly, but I would have loved to do some research on like the reasons why people stay with the jobs that they do. And I think I read something that like millennials and like the younger generation stay with a job because they want to feel like they belong. They want to feel like they're doing something good, that they have like something they're striving for, and that they're part of something much bigger. And I think that's really important when finding a job that fits for you, because in the long run, you feel fulfilled and you feel like you're working towards something that is fulfilling to you, which makes you stay longer, makes you happier. And then the company's happy because they like you and you're doing great work for them. And
Yeah, that would have been interesting to look at the Gen Xers, Gen Y, baby boomers. Baby boomers, I'm going to categorize, which is horrible of me to do, but I would say the vast majority of baby boomers, they were used to working at an organization for 25, 30, 35, 40 years. Like that was the norm. They weren't job hopping. And I remember back when, gosh, and I'm Gen X, so 5 to 10 years was the max. Normally 5 was a little bit short to switch positions or careers or, different companies. And then now it's like 2 years and you're out.
Is it just because people are hopping because I've wondered about that too. I hear, like you said, I remember people saying you when you start with an organization, you stay until, that was like the old way. And now I would say that most of the people I know maybe switch jobs within like 4 or 5 years. Like 2, that's, I feel like that's no time at all. I feel like you're just starting to get to know the culture and the people and like finally settled into your role.
Well, and maybe that's why they're leaving.
Maybe that is. I don't know. I'm like, oh God, that feels like such a short amount of time, but
yeah,
I don't, that would be fascinating. We'll have to look that up.
Contractors, I know, obviously, because that's their job, is to go to different organizations and help out for, limited times. I had a limited position back in the day at Red Wing Hospital, and I worked in the laboratory back in the day, and that was a limited term position for somebody on maternity leave. And it just so happened that it didn't bother me. They actually kept me on for a lot longer than probably what they should have. But it was still fun and I liked it, but I knew what it was when I went into it. I knew it wasn't a long-term position. And I stayed friends with a lot of those lab techs for a very long time. So it just, you never know what you're going to get.
You never know. I think there really is like a lot of the potential for a lot of people. If you are like at a point when you've done your 5 years somewhere and you are looking, I mean, it's a great time, I guess. I don't know.
I'd love to hear from other countries. I did look at our statistics over the weekend, and we do have a pretty big non-US contingent. So that's super exciting. I would love to know what other countries, how they view, I mean, obviously we're overgeneralizing here, but how people view their positions in different countries and what the stigma is there with the baby boomers and the Gen Xers, Gen Y, millennials, what that is in other countries. That would be super interesting.
I didn't even think about that. Like it could be completely different. I mean, maybe people stay longer at their job or less, or it's completely different.
So we're worldwide. We have worldwide listeners. please let us know
Mm-hmm.
what the job market is in your area and how you view applying or looking for jobs, getting your resume, cover letter. I don't know what other countries do. And then going through the interview process and then waiting and then getting the offer or getting the rejection. I would love to know how other countries process.
I'm so glad you mentioned the cover letter thing because I thought they were like a thing of the past as well. I've done cover letters before when they've asked me for them, but like at like past jobs, and I've just always wondered about it because a lot of times they kind of have you regurgitate some of the information, like you kind of just do an overview. And goodness gracious, don't get me started on the. Do you ever? Do you or have you ever? I don't remember the last time you applied for a job, but the like back when I've applied for jobs in the past, they back like years and years ago, they got really into when uploading resumes online became a thing. They would make you upload a resume and then they would make you fill in a resume like in boxes. And so you would have to take all of your resume information and stick it. Oh, goodness.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember that. It would take so long to apply for anything back in the day. I think now
Yeah.
they've gotten to the point where it's an either or. Like you can either type in your resume or you can send it off, which I think is so much more helpful.
Yeah, I would not. So any of the positions that Dawn and I have open, just send the resume. Do not
Mm.
waste your time
Yeah.
filling that out. No,
Do
that's just it's tedious work that
so
is
much
in a cover letter. Don't send a cover letter. We don't need to see it.
Was this ever a thing when you started applying for jobs? Because my mom, when I first got out of college, my mom suggested this to me, and I was like, I don't think that's how that works anymore. But like back in the day, like when she would do it, when you wanted a job, like sometimes you could just show up at a business and say, "Hey, I'm interested in a job," and they'd be like, "Cool, wow, I love your initiative. Thanks for visiting us. I like that. I'm going to hire you." I guess was a thing. And so my mom, when I was applying for jobs, like right out of school, my mom's like, you should just show up at these businesses and like show them like, cause I'm a pretty go-getter. So it's like, she would suggest that, and bless her soul, I tried that for like 3 companies and they're like, why are you here? Like, we can't interview you unless you give us a resume. You have to do everything online. And I was like, oh, that doesn't work anymore.
No.
Yeah.
I think open hiring, I don't even know what the real recruitment term is, but hiring day is the only time that you would really show up without an appointment or pre-submitting your resume.
Because partly it's most places can't just hire you on the spot, especially if it's like a biology, like it's not something you would hire someone for on the spot. And then too, like they're also very busy. Like you can't just drop everything you do and interview someone.
No, there was a company that I worked for in Madison, and we had people come in. I worked in HR at the time, and we had people come in all the time that did that. They just thought that they could come in, take a paper application, fill out the paper application, and then we would interview them right there. And it's like, that's not how it works. At least not here.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. And then people would be upset. Well, I took the day off to fill out the application. And so, yeah, you get at least when I was in HR, we got a mix of people walking in. I think different industries have different expectations.
Yeah.
So maybe production is a little bit different, or at least it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
But then you would have hiring days where you'd say, okay, between 8 and 5, bring a resume, or you can fill out an application and we'll have interviewers there on site. So those types of things happened where people would come in, they'd be interviewed right away and then offered positions, I guess. I don't know how that ever worked out, but at least they were interviewed in the same day.
Yeah. I've seen those signs up before at different locations of places, and they're like hiring day, like every other Tuesday. And I'm like, interesting. I've always wondered how that works. Like I've always just wondered, like I would love to be a fly on the wall. Like I always pictured it like everyone just sits in a circle and we talk about it. I know that's not how that works. And I was like, oh, it's like a fun get together and everyone's talking, but I know that's not how that works. But
well, I will say at one of the organizations that I've worked at, they did have interview day. So Friday was always the designated interview day. And it was a larger room, obviously pre-COVID. And there would be different tables for different groups.
Mhm.
So if somebody was interested in 3 different groups for that organization, they could meet at 3 different tables with 3 different interviewers to see if they would be a better fit for one group over another. And that worked out really, really well. And our human resources tried to give offers right away. So that,
Very interesting.
yes, that worked really, really well. But COVID hit and that no longer takes place.
It's sorry, my hair's tickling my nose. It's so interesting to me how just like the art of applying has become kind of like it's evolved so much just as work has evolved, just how I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what does 20 years, like what does 5 years down the line look like? Like I would have never guessed that applying for a job is the way that it is today 3 years ago. Like
No.
it's so much like recruitment and finding someone to fill a rec is so hard now. There's just
Well, do you remember the days where you looked for jobs in the newspaper?
I personally do not, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'm dating myself again.
I found a dog.
People used
got
to
a dog
use-
in the newspaper one time. That's how we got my first dog. It was an ad in the newspaper for a dog.
Yeah. I remember always looking through the Sunday paper for jobs.
Yeah.
That's how you looked for jobs. Now jobs can be posted at any given day, several times a day.
Yeah.
The job boards update all the time. It's crazy.
They're everywhere. Yeah. And some of these, I don't know if this has morphed into such a cool conversation. Did you ever, well, you haven't been looking for a job, but Indeed, like there is now where you don't even have to look for a job. You can just upload your resume and Indeed will have people call you. Like,
no, I did not
like
know
Indeed
that.
will send these resumes to places and these places will be like, hey, we saw your resume. We like you. You want to come interview? Like you don't even have to apply for jobs anymore. You just upload your resume and places will come find you. I mean, we talked about this with headhunters, basically hounding and knocking down people's doors to get them over there. But
yeah, that's
fascinating.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I remember back in the day with Indeed where you uploaded your resume and then you would just click on the jobs that you were interested in. And then Indeed would submit your resume to all those jobs that you clicked on. So you could click on 15 different jobs and have your resume go to 15 different companies. That I remember.
It's so neat where things have come. As long as you don't, I just worry sometimes about people becoming a number, but I don't think that's like, I think everyone, it is what it is. But there also used to be, and I think it was through Indeed, and I say so on my phone. I wish I had the name because I think I deleted the app. But I think it was through Indeed. They had an app called Job Spotter, and it was really cool because you could download the app, and if you saw a like help wanted sign, you would take a picture of it and upload it to the website or up to this thing, and you would get paid for putting these on. Like you'd get paid depending on the level of complexity of the job and like the amount, like you get extra. It was like a gamified version of Indeed, but basically, so if it said like help wanted, we need experienced technicians starting at $20 an hour, this is the phone number, blah blah blah, you would get like $2 for that listing or something.
I've never heard of that. That is awesome.
It was through Indeed, like it was an Indeed shoot off, and yeah, it was cool. But if it just said help wanted, apply inside, you get like maybe a quarter for that. If the more information that was on it, the more money you'd get. If you were the first to post it, you'd get like $3-4 for it or something. I don't remember. And then, but the more that people would, let's say you've already posted it and I posted again, it gets less and less money. You might get 5 cents for it. But like by the time I deleted the app, I think they sent me like a $20 gift card or something.
Oh, wow. Oh, you did it.
No, I did it. Yeah. Like I've done this. It was really cool. I would go and just take pictures of all the help wanted signs I'd see. And I'd pull over on the side of the road if I saw one. And I got a $20 gift card.
That's so cool.
But when the pandemic hit, they suspended it because there were so many, like everyone unfortunately was getting laid off, and because at the time we had no idea what the pandemic was going to do, and then now we're hiring again. So I don't know, maybe it's back on, but yeah, I ended up deleting it because they suspended it, and we're like, we're not doing any more job postings at the moment. But it was a really cool thing, and it was like kind of a game.
Yeah.
I'd always be like, wait a minute, and I'd take a snap of whatever the job posting was, but I think the point was that they would then upload that information for someone else to be able to apply for said job. Mm-hmm. So
very cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome. How about updates from any of our, I'm switching topics, by the way. Yes. I'm done with jobs now. Yes. Any updates that you know of from any of our previous guests?
No, I'm so bad. I'm like off social media too, and that's where I follow a lot of them.
Yeah, that's okay. So Jeff Bannock. So episode 3, I don't have all the episodes. I just remember Jeff as he was our first guest. He is now doing NFTs. Oh. And you can find him on Facebook.
That makes sense, though.
Sam Rembold is still doing fantastic with Fancy Sips.
I just talked to one of my coworkers about her. One of my coworkers is like, this is the year that I'm going to get into a hobby, and I've decided it's going to be fancy cocktails. And she was so proud because she got herself a book and was like learning how to make fancy cocktails. And I was like, you need to check out Fancy Sips.
So. Yes. Very cool. Lainey Dion is still doing her music and doing live episodes either on Facebook, or she goes to different establishments and plays for live music. I'm trying to think. Lance and Tim are still doing, they still do Missing Maura Murray. And they also started a different podcast. I'm going to have to look that one up. I don't remember which one that is. Trying to think of any of our other guests that we've had on.
Martin's still doing his thing.
Yes.
Just plugging along. I did see him on some things today.
Yep. Martin's still doing his thing. And going through, Dr. Laura Petler is still amazing as always. John Harrington is still running the Monarch in Wisconsin here.
What about your co-pilot, Dawn?
She is doing amazing.
Zoom?
Yes, she got to her goal.
Yay!
Recently, like within the past month. She and her husband are currently on vacation, and she's sending some amazing pictures. And I told her, and I will tell everybody else, I don't care what you weigh. It doesn't matter how much you weigh. It matters about your self-confidence and how you approach life, your mindset. So you could be 300 pounds or you could be 110. It doesn't matter. People are beautiful inside and out. And I said to co-pilot Dawn, you look amazing. And you're also amazing inside too. It's not just your exterior that's amazing.
She's so sweet. I'm glad we got to talk to her.
She's trying to think of any of our Julie Stackhouse is doing really well. Still running Brooks Ambassador. And Ashley Randall, I just started Body Take Back yesterday. Woo! Today was my first official day though.
You need to share your news about your running too.
Oh yeah, I will.
Finish your Ashley thing.
Yeah. So started with Body Take Back with Ashley Randall, and I will post links again. She was episode 47. Pretty sure Ashley Randall was.
We've done 47 episodes.
47, 48. Yeah, somewhere in there. Yes. And
epic.
I'm doing her Body Take Back. It is super fun, and day one is super hard. I had the realization today, which she does not know about, was that this is really where the hard stuff starts. And Matt and I talked about it yesterday in our drive down to Chicago. This is really it. This is, I've been doing things, but the real hard stuff is now starting to come into play more. And a
Mhm.
part of that, which Ashley was referring to earlier, is I'm finally doing 30-second workout or a 30-second sprint basically of 5.2 miles an hour, which I've never done that before.
So
And then
good.
recovered, and then 5.2 recover, 5.2 recover. Now I'm even walking at 3.3, which used to be like that was a struggle even to get to the jogging at 3.3. Things are going really, really well. I've got a bike trainer and
Woo.
I ride. Yep, I ride. So doing that with my Garmin, and yeah, it's things are going really well, but
You
this
only
is
have,
now a struggle.
I would say a few, but you have more than a few months before your 29029. But I mean,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
all great. Me and my boss had a conversation the other day. Like every day I walk up 4 flights of stairs from the parking garage up to my level. And I was like, it never gets easier. Like every day I come up the stairs and I'm like out of breath and it's 4 flights. Like I don't, and I can run for like a pretty good distance. I'm like, why can I not get up the stairs?
Yep.
And but he did mention, he was like, well, he's like, I talked to my doctor about it because he also was doing it. And he's like, well, they say that, unless you're doing it like for extended periods of time, like the 4 flights every day is not gonna, it'll maybe make your legs a little bit more muscular, but you really need to do it for a longer extended period to not get out of breath every time. And I was like, which is funny because I said, yeah, when I was running like consistently, I wasn't getting out of breath as much on the stairs. So yesterday, you inspired me, Robin, with your market
Oh, I
love. Yeah.
did.
So I ran yesterday, like 2
Yay.
miles. Yeah. And I was, because it was finally warm in Nashville. It was like 52 degrees. And it was like, actually, I am a huge proponent. Like 52 degrees is like my sweet spot when it comes to running for some reason. When it is 50 degrees, I run so much better. And I think it's because I'm not cold, but I'm also not hot. It's very strange. But yeah, I ran really well. And the next day, like as of today, I walked up the stairs and I wasn't all that tired. And I was like, man, when I work out, it helps with, I guess, my cardio.
And you
But
do a lot of clean eating, and that's
well,
major.
that hasn't.
That's the majority of it. What do
Yeah.
you mean?
Well, I mean, that hasn't helped me with the stairs, but
Oh,
maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe I don't know what it would be like if I wasn't eating healthy. So maybe I'm like fast, but I know I've always struggled with stairs. I don't know what it is. You put me on a stair machine I can run a ton now, but for some reason on a stair machine, I'm like my asthma just kicks in immediately.
isn't
It's
it weird how different
insane.
exercises affect you? I had to
Yeah.
do which I don't jump, but I tried to do little baby jumps today.
Oh.
So little baby jumping jacks, and then walkout planks. And those were killer. I mean,
Mhm.
all of our listeners know I do the beach body workouts in the morning
Mhm.
since April. So it's been almost a year.
Mhm.
And that was nothing compared to what Ashley had me do.
Oh, I'm so fast. What was the hardest workout?
The planks, the walking
Oh,
out planks.
yeah.
So going down, going all the way out into a plank and then coming back. Yeah,
When
30 of them. 30,
planks
30.
planks are brutal and when you put a walkout in them, like when I was doing my personal training with Law, one of the things that he would do is like he would set like kind of goals and he'd be like, okay, I want you to do this many of the rows. And like there was he would just make like little games here and there. And then depending on how close I got to these like games, that would be how many seconds. If it was like, if I was way off, I'd have to do more seconds on a plank at the end. There was one day that I had to do like a 2-minute plank and I was like shaking. He's like, you got it, you got it. I'm like, this is so evil. Like it was so hard. Planks are so hard.
They are. They are.
Like, and when you say the walkout, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. But I would
But
always
on
wait
the,
till the end too.
but on the other hand, then you know where your weaknesses are. And you can
Yeah.
continually work on that. And then you can continually build on your strengths too. So
Mhm.
it's a give and take, but yeah,
Yeah.
that became a real reality to me today. It's like, it's day one, and this is going to be a major struggle.
Well, like 2 months from now, you're going to be able to do those so easily. I feel like because I mean,
Well,
when I
we'll
started,
see.
you will, because when I started doing it with my personal trainer, I could maybe do a minute plank before, I'd be shaking halfway through. And then by the end, I could do like a 2.5 minute plank. I'd still shake, but like it was not nearly as hard. And I was like, I'm kind of angry because I can see the progress. And I'm like, dang it. Now I know I can do a plank for longer. But yeah, you will so be able to do it for much longer. You have to like keep, I mean, she's going to be keeping track of your progress, but
No, we do. No, we do.
You both do?
No, just I do.
Just you do. Okay.
Yeah. And then we have calls and talk, how everybody's doing. And I haven't been to one of those yet, but looking forward to that.
Well, you're brand
Yeah.
new.
This is a real thing, and a different eating plan and some elimination for the first 3 weeks.
What's the eliminations?
Dairy.
Ooh, oh.
So living in the dairy state, I love my cheese and sour cream.
Cheese, no. I was just talking with a group of coworkers about how much I like cheese.
Yes. But it's only for 3 weeks. And I don't go overboard on cheese too much. So I've really cut back on my cheese consumption. So that's okay. Nothing in my coffee. I wonder though if I could have my premium protein drink in my coffee as a creamer, because I do use that on occasion.
What's it got in it? Is it a dairy-based protein?
Well, we don't want to talk about that, Ashley. We don't know if it's dairy-based or not.
It's almond-based, maybe.
I do have almond milk, and we can have almond milk. So there is that. And then some intermittent fasting, which is fine because I've done that in the past. That's really not a big deal. I really haven't been a big breakfast eater. So that doesn't bother me too much. Some legumes are out, and I can't remember what the third one is. But it's nothing wild. It's nothing drastic. It's very common sense. No, it's 3 weeks. But I think really what it's meant to do is so you eliminate certain things, and then when you bring them back, see how you feel. That's my guess.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that because like I've always eaten bread. Like bread's just, my family's Italian, so I grew up on like pastas and garlic breads and all sorts of breads. And I cut out bread like just randomly because I don't know, I was, I guess, scared of the fact that they were carbs. I don't know. But I cut them out for like a month, and then I like had a sandwich and I felt so sick afterwards. And then I cut them out again for like a few weeks, and I ate bread again and felt so ill. And I'm like, it's the flour. It was the bready stuff. But I can eat corn, like corn-based, like corn tortillas are fine, or corn-based things, or like not wheat-based things. Like all carbs are fine, like barley, all that is fine. It's just wheat. But like you said, like it was one of those things that I didn't know that it made me feel bad until I cut it out for a while.
Yeah. And this is too, it's not cutting calories and it's not cutting carbs. You're eating real food. It's not any other lifestyle food that I've had before. So it's not keto, it's not Mediterranean, it's not Whole30, it's not any of that, but it's just really common sense. Yeah. And you're still eating. So there's not calorie restrictions. I mean, she and I did talk about how many calories I should be eating, and then the carb, protein, and fat balance. But I'm eating real food. I had a salad for lunch and I had a normal breakfast. And yeah, it's just, it's the mindset of the different times that you eat and how you approach it. Leslie and I were talking about, we've always ate for taste. So if something tastes super good, then we obviously would eat more of it than whatever. And so many other people say, oh, I eat to fuel my body. And I always thought that was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. Why would you do that? Well, now I know why you would do that. So part of me feels like I'm losing a food friend because I like tasty food, but then you're really gaining your health by fueling your body the right way, which the food can still taste really good.
Right. Yeah, I was about to say my brother and his girlfriend are both vegan, and I had the idea that vegan food can't possibly taste good, but they make food for me sometimes, and it's the best. It's so tasty. I'm like, isn't too bad. I don't think I could be vegan, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like there's definitely things that I've substituted where like on Thanksgiving we had a vegan gravy that was just out of this world. And I'm like, that's the gravy I want to eat forever now because it's way better than any gravy I've ever had. And it's vegan. So it's like substituting but yeah, I'm excited I'm sure you'll share some recipes at some point of like things that taste good that are like really healthy for your body.
Yeah. There's a pumpkin pancake recipe that she has. So I'm thinking of trying that.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So this is a random aside, but it's about pumpkin. Maybe it's not that funny. So randomly, we got these like pumpkin packets, me and my boyfriend, and we started they were like kind of rejected from a store. So because they were mushed. And so we started putting it on the dog's food because it's meant for dog food. Like you just pour a little packet of pumpkin on their food. And so our dogs love it. Like they've been obsessed with it. I've never seen them so obsessed with food. Like they like liked their food before, but now they're like obsessed with food because of this little packet of pumpkin that we put on it in the morning and at night. Like so much so that they come bolting out and like they will lick their bowl all day. Anyways, so went to Sam's Club yesterday and I guess we ran out of the pumpkin packets, which was like anarchy in the house. The dogs would not have it. Now they refuse to eat anything unless there's pumpkin on it. But they had like pumpkin on sale at Sam's Club. So I have so many cans of pumpkin because I got it all on clearance. And I'm like, now the dogs won't eat if I don't feed them pumpkin on their food. So like, I don't want them to starve. So I bought like all the cans of pumpkin because I'm like, this will last forever. Anyways, so now I have a ton of pumpkin so I can make pumpkin pancakes. I'm sure it's like pumpkin puree, right?
Yeah, I think so. Or yeah, I always have to look up.
50 cans of pumpkin.
We should have Sula back on, Sula and Spice, so she can tell us the difference between pumpkin puree and solid pumpkin and what the other pumpkin is. I don't know.
Did your thing say what the base of it is? Like it's pumpkin and what's the flour?
I'm not sure. I would have to look. Okay. I'm guessing it's oats, but maybe not.
I love oat flour.
Yeah, and that's gluten-free. So oats. So if you do your own oats. So I had thanks to Ashley, the Bob's Red Mill extra thick rolled oats. And then I put them in my food processor and turned them into flour. There's no gluten.
I love it better than I feel so much better when I don't eat gluten. I'm not gluten intolerant or like I don't, maybe that I know of, but
you just feel better.
I just feel so much better when I substitute like different flours and stuff.
Yeah. So
I'm going to try the oat flour thing because I have so many oats at my house right now, but I didn't even think to grind it up myself.
Yeah, I did it. I don't know how many months ago. It was out of one of my cookbooks. Julie Stackhouse actually was somebody who was a recipe tester. And I thought, oh, well, if Julie Stackhouse likes this cookbook, I'm sure it's for runners.
Oh,
and I thought, okay, it's fueling your body properly is really where my interest was. It's mostly all natural things, not a ton of processed food, nothing like that. So one of the recipes for pancakes is to grind your own oats for the oats, whatever it's called, the oatmeal, not oatmeal, oat flour for the pancakes. And it's absolutely delicious. I believe it's called Rise and Run.
Oh, that's the name of it?
That's the name of the book.
I thought that was the name of, well, that's super cute too.
Yeah. And it's Shailene Johnson and somebody else. They're both amazing runners.
What is the popcorn on this diet lifestyle? Are you allowed to have popcorn?
I don't believe it's one of the foods to cut out. I'll have to double check now. I like popcorn
as a snack. You got me hooked on popcorn. Like I never don't have popcorn at my house now.
I love popcorn. And speaking of Sula and Spice, I have not seen a Robin and White drink, and I have not seen a chicken dish that Sula gave me the recipe for years ago. So I will be contacting her. She needs to chop.
Yeah, she needs that. I'm going to send you a recipe too. I got this from Publix years ago. You know how do you have a Publix where you are?
No.
Oh, a shame. Publix is Florida lives by Publix, but they call it aprons, and they have, this little setup where they cook an example of it and then you can eat it while you walk around the store. But they have something, it's called cranberry almond chicken. And
You made it for me.
did I though?
Yeah, when you came up here, you made it for Matt and I.
I don't think I made the.
Yeah. And remember, you kept eating the crumble.
Did I?
Yes.
I don't remember that. I love cranberry almond chicken though. It's my favorite.
Yes, you made it for us.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Mhm.
I have like a box full of the recipes. I'll have to send some to you that I think would be good, because they have so many good recipes, and a lot of them are like very whole foods based. Like the food is not a lot of, when I say whole foods, it's like it doesn't have many ingredients. It's like, like your oat flour, you grind the oats, that's an ingredient, and it's a lot of those kind of things. And they have so many good ones. They had like a turkey chili in there that was so good. We did recently, and yeah, I'll send some.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with the cranberry almond.
Yes, she is. I will attest to that. Yes. Yeah, you made it for Matt and I, and we both loved it.
It's good.
Yeah, it's super good.
Brussels.
How did we get onto recipes from jobs?
I have no idea. I think we were talking about what our people have been up to, our former interviewees
we
have
did.
been up to, and
And then
jobs.
Yes, Ashley Randall. So I will post again Ashley's program link, and you can have a chat with Ashley and see if the body take back is right for you. But it's right for me.
Yeah.
It's the first day, and I'm already sore.
That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your body's feeling it. Well, I guess, do we have any other things about jobs we need to add to this?
If anybody needs any help, or you're anxious, or you want to do a trial interview with either one of us, please let us know, because we're happy to help.
Yeah, I think interviewing is fun, actually.
Yeah, I love to interview.
It's very cool, but yeah, we'd be happy to help.
Yeah. And also, if you like this episode or any of our other episodes, please subscribe and like on YouTube, or leave us a review.
Yes, and send us emails if you have any questions, or you want to be interviewed, or any of that.
We'd love to.
We'd love to hear from you. But besides that, stay awesome
and keep reaching for your anything.
Bye.
See you later.